your host, John MacDonald.
Hello and welcome. We're visiting today with Senator Bruce Tutvedt from the Flathead. Welcome, Senator. Appreciate you giving us a little time today. I know it's a busy schedule here at the convention.
It is, but it's fun.
So tell me a little bit first about the district that you represent, and then we'll talk a little bit. I know this is your last session as well.
I kind of touch a little bit of whitefish, a little bit of Kalispell, in the rural area in between, in the timber and the ag land. So it's a good district for me, and my farm is right in the middle of it, and we bought cattle and traveled the whole district buying cattle and around it. So it was I was well known and touched a lot of people in my district.
Yeah, and this is your final session. You will be term limited out here. So talk a little bit about the session itself and compare it with previous sessions that you've had.
It was an exciting session. I was chairman of tax, so my third time, and so that was, and I put a lot of effort into tax and local government, kind of the two of the big committees that I worked on. They just become enveloping, and to get through the reappraisal and the income tax simplification and several other things, add work comp. It was a very busy session policy-wise for me.
Let's talk about some of the specifics that you just mentioned. You led the effort on obviously a very complicated but important tax reappraisal bill. Talk a little bit about the need for that, the process that you went through, and where we ended up with that.
It was. I mean, and we have a very complicated system, and it was very hard to administer with the 6-year phase-ins and a lot of things that made it so the taxpayers' bill, they didn't understand it, and when they looked at it, and the goal was to make your appraised value equal your taxable value, so you understood it. And so there was just the tax rate set by the legislature, the number of mills by your local community mainly, and so that you can understand it, and it brought transparency to that, and so you know what your value of your home was and what your taxes are. So a taxpayer should be able to figure it out.
Right, and the governor signed that, and you had a lot of bipartisan support, but you also had an effort in, if nothing else, in education, in helping people understand the issue and try to make it a little less complicated for folks.
Well, we did. We had like 3 sessions in the Senate where we did it, and then Director Cadis came in and put on kind of a dog and pony show, and he actually traveled the state talking about the phase-in and the different values and how that would look. And we were in a unique time because our values now in 14 were about equal to 2008. So we could do it, which made it unique with the residential. So we were able to do that. We kept commercial in that same class. We just put a multiplier in there, so they're taxed at a little different rate. And we held everything taxable value neutral by class, so there was no shift among the classes. In the future, there probably will be, or that'll be a policy decision the legislature can make on how they want those different classes to pay: residential, commercial, ag, business equipment. So,
and one of the issues that came up in an area where there was some negotiation and some compromise was with the timber industry. They were concerned about how this would impact them, and you reached a good deal with that, a good compromise on that.
Well, we compromised, and I guess they were very good at lobbying. They ended up with about a 27% tax cut. But anyway, I guess which shifts all to the other classes. I mean, that means that the net effect is somebody pays the money with 15, 10, 420. Right. We will pay those governments are held harmless. So if one part of the class goes down, the other ones go up. So.
Right. Right. Let's talk a little bit too about the income tax bill that you proposed. It was an effort and an attempt to sort of simplify that as well. Less success with that, but talk about what the importance of that was and how you went about that.
Well, I had an income tax simplification. It brought in all levels of income, brought in some different things, actually brought in tips and unemployment income, and cut out a bunch of exemptions and credits, and tried to tax everything at a lower rate, a broader base at a lower rate, and we were able to take the top rate from 6.9 to 6.1. We were able to lower capital gains, keep them, have a preference there. It was very exciting. Basically, you could have filed, 90% of Montana could have failed on one piece of paper. We followed the Colorado plan on your federal taxable income as your starting point. Very simple, very transparent. I was excited. At the end, the governor couldn't quite get around that there would be other people that their taxes went up. I felt if you're going to close exemptions and loopholes, somebody's going to be a loser. But if you have a fair, basic system, that would be better. I wasn't quite able to get there. I was kind of upset because the governor told me the last time when he vetoed it in the 13th session that he'd work with me and we'd try to get through it. But it couldn't quite get the momentum it needed to do it, either from the Republican leadership or the governor.
At the end of the day, it got through the legislature but was vetoed.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk a little bit too about work comp. I know that was another issue that you took on this session.
I did. I was chairman of Economic Affairs Interim Committee, and one of the things they did is that in '92, when work comp went when we ended up with the old fund and $500 million, the taxpayer took over work comp, and we just were there, and so the legislature had full oversight. Well, we're a deliberative body. We're not an oversight body, and so that was I thought was an indiscrepancy or a problem, and so we put them under the auditor. And it was a lot of negotiations. We ended up with the Attorney General, the Auditor's Office, State Fund, the Governor, and the legislature all melding this thing together to get it so the auditor had enough teeth and the State Fund didn't feel like they were getting run over. But I think having them under the auditor will assure us into the future we never have another old fund.
All right. So final question, just sort of a wrap up of your session. How many years total did you serve in the legislature? I know you've been there for a number of sessions.
I served 8 years in the Senate. I started in the Senate, so I did 4 terms, and it's kind of like being in high school. You're a freshman, sophomore, junior, and a senior, and I'm kind of at the, I guess, phasing out my senior year. So that's where I'm at, and it was an exciting process and fun.
And your assessment of where the state of Montana is at the end of your final session?
I'm excited. We fixed the retirement system. I mean, we have a AA bond rating. Double A plus, one of the best. I mean, there's 12 states without a budget. We have a budget. We have a very good budget. We funded our schools. We funded our universities. I was upset we didn't get that infrastructure bill because I think we need infrastructure for business. I mean, we need good roads. We need airports. Actually, and we were able to, I think, take that money and support our local hospitals. I mean, every business, when they come somewhere, they have to have a good hospital. They don't want to go somewhere that doesn't. And we were able to support our local critical care hospitals that we would have lost if we didn't. They were going broke. So overall, we did a lot of good things. I think we made Montana a better place to do business. It's a good place, but we made it better.
Good. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to visit with us today. We've been visiting with Senator Bruce Tutvedt. We appreciate you coming by. I know you have a busy schedule today, but we appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Charter Local Edition has been an exclusive presentation of Charter Communications.